Hello, this is TheBlockster502 once again, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a 0K tutorial. And today I'm going to be demonstrating the 0K unit counter system, basically meaning which units counter others and how effective they are to use against others. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to be showing is the Raider versus the Riot. So I'll give you some examples of some raid units here. Here is a glaive. It's made from the Cloak Bot factory right here. Go ahead and get a Scorcher. That there, right here. That's what it looks like. It's also a raider. Bandit. Okay, there we go. There is our bandit. Shield Bot Raider, and let's go ahead and get out the Hovercraft Raider here, which is going to be the Scrubber. Okay, there's the Scrubber. Alright, and I'll go ahead and give the prices on these real quick. This is 130 metal. Glaive is 65, the Scrubber is 85, and the bandit is 80. Alright, now there are a few more here real quick that we can use. We have the ones from the heavy tank. These are all the basic factories, mainly because of their size. They're the most used factories in the game, so I decided to start with them. Yeah, start demonstrating them first, and then probably not one of the greatest one-on-one factories, the Jump Jet Specialist plant. Yeah, Jump Jet Specialist factory, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and then I believe I'll create one more for I will continue with this, and Spider Factory. Actually, no, yes, okay. We only have, yeah, I'll need to slap down one more after this, which is the Amphibious. Alright, now. Okay, so let's go ahead and show the Jump Jet Specialist Raider. It is called the Pyro. Now, this is what you consider more of a advanced raider, because it's more expensive. It isn't as weak against the Riot unit, which naturally counters all raid units. Very fast, very expensive. Same thing for, here's a close-up. There you go. Alright, now we have the heavy tank factory, which actually has two raiders. It has the Kadachi and the Panther. Here is our Kadachi, and here is our Panther. Panther there, Kadachi there. Alright, now, the Kadachi, it has a very unique fighting style. It backs up and it shoots one napalm grenade at a time at its targets. It's kind of a raid unit slash Riot. And then you have the Panther, which is it slightly fills the role of an assault unit, not really. Obviously an advanced raider. All these that I've been showing just now are advanced raiders. But this one, what it's supposed to be used for is you can basically it's not very vulnerable to light defenses. It can basically shrug off fire from lotuses and stingers. Well, sorry, not stingers, defenders. And yeah, like any raid unit, really any unit at all, it's gonna die to a Stardust or a Stinger. Not very much will stand up to a Stinger. You're gonna have to have some pretty heavy units. Alright, Okay, and then we have the Spider Factory. Now, the Spider Factory, they do actually not come with the Raider, but the closest thing you're ever going to get is their Scout unit. Their Scout, which is the Flea. Okay, there you go. Thanks, fast. Alright, here it is. Kind of move it around so you can... No, I can't turn its cloak off. There it is. Very small, probably... I believe it's actually the lightest unit in the game, or the least expensive. It does very, very minimal damage. Very useful for actually raiding early mexes in the beginning of the game, or picking off unguarded raiders at an extremely cheap price. Alright, now we have the Amphibious, and they have, they once again have two raiders. You have the Archer and the Duck. Okay, now... the Archer, it can also be used as a skirmisher, and it is best used with water. So is the Duck, obviously, because they're amphibious. Now, the Archer it shoots water out of its two guns here. Yeah, it shoots high-powered water jets, and they gradually lose power over time, and it has to actually sit in a body of water for a length of time in order to restore its guns. So unless you plan it to die after fighting, then don't use these unless you have some kind of a source of water. And then you have the Duck. It shoots missiles and torpedoes out of its two guns here, obviously making it more effective when you have a source of water nearby. Alright, now the price on all of these units. We have the Kodachi at 180, the Panther at 320, the Duck at, once again, 180, the Archer at 260, and the Pyro at 220. Now, easiest way to distinguish advanced raiders from light raiders is their price. Anything over 100 metal I definitely consider to be advanced. Meaning that actually the Scorcher here, yes, I do consider it to be advanced, and you'll see why here in a second. Alright, so that brings me to the Riot unit. And if you can see those are all the icons of the raiders right here. Alright, now, I'll go ahead and put these guys aside for a second. Okay, and we'll bring out our Riot units. Okay, we'll go ahead and just queue all of them up here. Let's see. Well, the Jumpettes, they don't really have one, a specified Riot unit. And there we go. Okay, good. Okay, here we go. Here are all of our Riot units. Wait for this one to construct, and the closest thing you're going to get to a good Riot unit is the Sumo, so we'll go ahead and make one of those as well. Now, this is quite expensive for a Riot unit. The classic role of a Riot unit will be filled by the Sumo, but don't count on it for most purposes. Alright, let's see here. See if I can extract one of these raiders to get a little extra metal. Okay, never mind. We don't need that. Alright, it's finished. Okay, so we'll have all of them line up here. Alright, here we go. All of the land Riot units in the game. Okay, go over the Sumo first. It's mainly a heavy unit. It doesn't fit into the classical counter system. It's an assault unit, hence the name Heavy Assault Jumper. It can jump on units and do massive damage. That's mainly its Riot capability, because the idea behind a Riot unit is to squash multiple very low health units at once. Very light units, they're supposed to shred them up. Alright, so we have the Leveler here. Obviously, you probably guessed, from the Light Vehicle Factory. It possesses a Riot cannon. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that real quick. and we'll give it something to shoot at here. Okay, so we'll give probably a good number for the leveler. I don't think I'll be able to take on much more than this. Is 8. Okay, there you go. There's 8 glaives. And the idea behind the leveler is to back up, really like any skirmisher. Now, it did have a little bit of help from the Lotus, so probably the maximum number, unless you if you very carefully micro the leveler, it can really take on an infinite number of raiders, unless they catch up to it. You have to keep stuff off of it. They can't get within range. Alright, now, moving on. We have the Banisher here, the heavy tank Riot unit. Okay, and this thing, I'll just demonstrate in this last little glaive here. It fires one big Riot missile. Whoa, that was too fast for you to really see what happens. Yeah, slow this down so we can get a more accurate representation. Okay, and we're going to give, probably have this thing fight 20. PW. Right, there you go, 20 glaives. See, as you can see, now they don't actually notice me, which is not right. Okay, yeah, there they go. They're starting to notice me now. Yeah, as you can see, once again, if it gets overtaken, it dies, and it has a very low rate of fire. So that's the thing with some of these Riot units. You have to do a few hit-and-run tactics. Alright. Here we go with the Outlaw. The Outlaw is probably the best unit in the world for taking out glaives, or anything lower quality than the glaive. So we'll go ahead and create those glaives again. This thing could probably take on, have it take on 40. That's a lot. But yeah, here you go. It just comes through and it eats all of them up. Shredded up every last one of them. Though only a certain number of them chased it. Okay, so get their attention again, back up. Okay, now that purple wave it's emitting also slows them down, so it reduces the rate of fire, and that is mainly what makes it so effective. Alright, now it is not the most effective thing against the against a more advanced raider, and I showed you what those are. That's, you know, the advanced raiders over here, the Kadachi, Pyro, Scorcher. It's not the most effective thing, though it still works very, very well. Okay, now we have the Mace. Okay, speed this up just a tad. Okay, now the Mace, it also takes on massive numbers of light units, like nobody's business. The Mace, it's quite expensive for a Riot unit. So we'll go ahead and have it take on some here. Let's see, give 15. Okay, 15, there we go. Alright, have it move in, then have it skirmish backwards. Yes. As you can see, it shreds them up fairly nicely, though, like other Riots, it gets taken over pretty fast. Alright, now, here is probably our most micro-intensive raider, and it comes from the Spider Factory. Most spiders will be micro-intensive anyway, so just keep that in mind if you ever want to use the Spider Factory. Okay, now the Venom, it does no damage. It's actually the only Riot unit in the game, well, possibly besides the Stiletto. Well, there are other things, but it's really the only Riot ground unit that does no damage. Alright, and then, okay, yeah, there's the venom. I'll go ahead and show you its maximum unit capacity that it can kill. Go ahead and back off here. Let the glaive get killed. Okay, now go ahead and give let's do 10. I'll probably take on about that many. Okay, now you're going to have the idea with the venom is to have something else to supplement it. As you can see though, like most Riot units, if you do have something to supplement with it, it can basically run away and paralyze these things all day long. It could probably take on more than this. Though, if you ever find yourself dealing with the venom, the best way to counter it is with possibly assault units spread out, or just simply a ton of raiders. You have to surround it in a special formation. Don't charge it in a line. Alright, now, here is our scallop. Very, very slow, though it also has a torpedo launcher when it's in the water, and it has a shotgun on land. Alright, so here we go. Give probably 20. Okay, there we go. Alright, now, yeah, as you can see there, it chews these things up pretty nicely, though it does work the best when it's skirmishing, meaning it's moving backwards. Skirmishing means constantly moving backwards and shooting. Alright, and finally, the warrior. Probably, I use Cloak Bots a lot, so I'm very familiar with the warrior. Alright, go ahead and kill the rest of these glaives. Alright, now, move up here just a tad, and then to tell it, give, I was thinking take on a maximum of 15. There we go. Alright, just have it back up. No, it can't take on 15. What am I thinking? Yeah, anyway, though. That probably wasn't the easiest thing to see, but the warrior, it can take on about 6 glaives at once. The warrior is probably more effective against advanced raiders. If you're really wanting to deal with light raiders, try something like the outlaw. It's, like I was saying, it's the best to deal with those. The leveler is okay, though it's I also find it to be more effective against advanced. The mace, once again, is effective against advanced units, and that's just because they can't shoot all the units at once because there's so many of them. The outlaw can shoot everything at once. And then, you know, just for demonstration, I guess, let's just have some fun with this here sumo. Okay, now, I'll show you what happens when the units get jumped on. As you can see, it just flattens all of them at once. Very effective unit. Heavy unit. Okay, now, go ahead and store this thing up here along with the venom. And we'll start with our next roll. But first, I need to tell you the prices here. Leveler, $240. The Outlaw's $250. The Sumo is $2,000. And the Banisher is $780. The Venom is $200. The Scalp is $350. The Mace is $400. And the Warrior is $220. Alright, now on to one of the next important roles in the game. Now, not every single factory possesses the capability of this unit. It is the Skirmisher. So we have the Rocco here from the Cloak Bots, the Rogue, the Moderator, nothing here, the Recluse from the Spiders, the Buoy from the Amphibious, and the Hovers also do not have anything. And the light vehicles also don't have anything when it comes to skirmishers. Alright, So those are almost complete, and I'll give you the rundown on this style of unit. Okay. Alright, here we go. The Rogue. Take you aside here. Alright, now, the Rogue, it shoots rockets into the air at a slightly arcing angle. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. As you can see, it has a long range. See, there you go. Alright. Okay, now, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and tell you, like I was saying earlier, the basic unit of the Skirmisher. The idea behind the Skirmisher is to continually back up and shoot. And what that is effective against is slow units. I'll go ahead and slow this down to normal speed so you can really see the correct speed of these units. Now, if you probably couldn't really notice, but Riot units are extremely slow. Skirmishers have a fairly fast pace. It's obviously not as fast as a Raider, but it's probably the next slowest thing down from the Raider. So, basically the Skirmisher is effective against anything that is slower than itself. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that here against a Zeus. Okay, so alright, I looked up the command for the Zeus, and I'll go ahead and put one down here. Give one arm Zeus team 1. Okay, yeah, obviously I spelled it wrong. Let's see. Give arm Zeus to team 1. Okay, there he is. Alright, you stop that. Okay, now the crazy thing is stuck. Okay, here it comes. Alright. Now, if you give the Skirmisher a fight command here, and when you guys stop. Okay. Yeah, let's try that again, this time a little bit more controlled. So, we'll try it, and these are just some random units I created, if you're wondering. So is this. Okay, now let's go ahead and put down our Zeus right about here. Alright, putting it at the maximum range. Now, the whole idea behind the Skirmisher, like I keep saying, is to continually back up and shoot at the enemy. They're most effective at maximum range. You want to keep the Skirmisher at maximum range and don't let anything close the distance. So we'll go ahead and put down another Zeus here. Okay. There it is. Ah, man. Why do I have to expand so much? Okay, we'll go ahead and wait for the crazy Zeus to destroy all that. And this isn't actually a full representation. I'm just basically showing effectiveness of a Skirmisher. So here you go. Basically get close. We need to actually, yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, this Zeus has a fairly short range, so it can't do anything to the Rogue, and it is constantly gaining ground on it. And it's doing damage. So the Zeus will keep coming, and the Rogue is going to keep firing and killing it. Alright, there you go. That's basically what all of these units do. All the units of type Skirmisher, I won't really take the time to demonstrate them. Actually no, I will take time to demonstrate one. The Moderator here. Now, the Moderator, it's a slow beam walker, so all it does is simply slow things down. It doesn't do any damage. So go ahead and put another Zeus down. Give arm. Yeah, man. There we go. Nope. For some, why can I not learn to spell that word? Let's see, give arm. There we go. Okay, there he is. Alright, now, the moderator has a quite considerable, it has quite a bit more range than most skirmishers. The description here only says a slow beam walker, but I do consider it to be a skirmisher. Its symbol here is actually the symbol for a support unit, if you want to go look that up in the manual. But you can't actually see the effects here, because Zeus is not actually coming at me. See, there he goes. Yeah, as you can see, it's, if you noticed before, it's even slower than what it was. Alright, there you go. So I'll go ahead and demolish this thing with the rest of my skirmishers. Alright. Ah, man. Okay. Alright, now, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and tell the stats of the rest of the units here. The buoy, the graphics are down low right now, so you don't actually get to see the effects on the buoy. They're fairly cool when it shoots. But, okay, here you go. I'll just demonstrate what it looks like shooting at the ground. Yeah, it's just a little purple dot. It looks a lot better if the effects are actually up. But it is like the moderator, but it actually does damage. It basically shoots that little purple bullet. It's like the it's a disruption bullet, meaning it slows and it does damage. It's like the outlaw with the disruption wave there. Alright, so there's the buoy, the recluse, as you probably saw. It has probably one of the longest ranges out of all the skirmishers. Now it shoots 3 fairly inaccurate missiles at one target. So, yeah. There you go. As you can see, yeah, they're kind of going all over the place. So, that's basically, I mean, there's really not much to show there. It's pretty effective considering its range. And then you have the Rocco, probably the shortest range skirmisher, cheapest one. It does fairly minimal damage with one slow, straight firing rocket, though it's still effective at the role of skirmisher. Alright, now for some other stats here. Basically the idea behind the skirmisher, like I keep saying, I don't need to repeat that, but they are effective against Riot units basically all the time. They're not a Riot unit is effective against a skirmisher, and sometimes assault. They're weakly effective against assault due to their low damage and an assault unit's very high health. Alright, yeah, if you see, most of the time though, assault units can be countered by raiders, which brings me to my next unit class, the assault unit. So here we go. We have the Zeus. Now most factories will carry an assault unit. The Ravager, because it feels such a basic role. It's like the Raider. Okay, and then the Jack. There you go. The Reaper. And a few of these factories do have a copy, but it's that mainly fills the role of a heavy unit. There's really a difference between, well, heavy, that's really just a descriptive word, but you know, it's a very expensive, very effective unit is what I mean. Alright, and the amphibious, they do have an assault unit, but it's really their heavy unit as well. Alright, and then finally, the closest thing you're going to get from the hovercraft plant is the halberd. Okay, so go ahead and speed this up, cut down on our build time. Alright, good. Okay, now, okay, now while those are constructing, I'll go over the 4 basic here. Or are a few basic here. Okay, anyways, let's go over the Zeus first. You've already seen it in action. Hang on. Ah, man. Sorry, I forgot to take. Yeah, you could probably figure it out, but the prices for the skirmishers are Rogue 120, Moderator 280, Rocco is 90, the Buoy is 300, and I think they're. Oh yes, and the Recluse is also 300. Yes, okay, that's correct. Okay, now we have all of our assault units here. So, here's the Zeus. Basically an assault unit. Let me slow this back down to give you a good representation. And the Zeus, it is very slow, a lot like a Riot unit. Really all assault units travel at about the same speed. They're slow, but not as slow as a Riot. And the idea of the assault is probably pretty obvious. They're used for crushing light defenses. Basically, as you can see, the Ravager here has 1,850 health, and the Zeus has 2,400. The Hermit's got 1,400, the Jack has a whopping 5,000, the Reaper has 6,800, the Grizzly has 9,000, and the Thug has 960. But the Thug has a shield. And then the Halberd, it has 125, but while it is closed up in this state, it reduces its damage to about a third or a quarter. It basically only takes about 25% of the damage that's supposed to be dealt to it. Now if it's open like this, meaning that it's shooting, then it will take the full brunt of the attack. So the Halberd, it's a little more specialized. It's really not your typical assault unit. Okay, so that's basically it for the assault unit. I don't really need to demonstrate. You can really just look at them in game. There's, I mean, they don't really possess any unique capabilities. I can give you a basic rundown on all of them. The Ravager is effective against other things than just static defenses. It's effective against Riots, which really all assault units are effective against, and is partially effective against Raiders. Also effective against Skirmishers, which I was saying sometimes Skirmishers don't always beat assault units, and this is one of those cases. Though you gotta have some pretty nice micro skills. You can't just send a Ravager at a Skirmisher unit and expect it to win. Also against raids, it doesn't really do all that good. Mainly an assault unit, you want them to use on static defenses. A typical situation I'll get into in a battle is I'll have my opponent over here, and he will construct light defenses around his base to keep out raiders. Now, if you actually want to surprise your opponent, you can basically, after producing a few raiders, you can produce an assault and charge it right at their base. It'll crush all their light static defenses, and you might even win the battle with that attack. So yeah, they can be very effective in certain situations. Okay, now, okay, I believe that's enough on that. So the prices, we have the Hermit at 160, the Zeus at 350, the Ravager at 250, the Jack at 650, the Reaper at 850, the Thug at 180, the Grizzly at 2,000, and the Halberd at 240. Yeah. Okay, just double checking that real quick. Alright, now have these guys move up here with all the rest of the units that I'm done with, and we'll go ahead and move on to, from the way it seems, our last important unit class, the most commonly used one, and that is the artillery. So here we go. go and put all these in. Okay, now the artillery, some artillery pieces in the game are probably the coolest things that you'll ever use. Yeah, it's probably the funnest part about the game. Alright, and the spiders actually really don't have an artillery piece. Alright, now we'll go and speed this up, reduce our build time. Okay, and artillery is very expensive, meaning that you can't build it at the beginning of the game unless it's something like a hammer, in which case it is probably going to die. Now, the idea behind artillery is pretty straightforward. It is a pork or porcupine crusher. Heavy defenses. They're most effective on heavy defenses. Now, basically ineffective against anything that moves around a lot. The only two exceptions are, well, actually we have quite a few exceptions. Yeah, well, they're most effective when the target is sitting still, though. Now, the Grizzly technically is not classified as an artillery piece in its name, but I do like to use it as an artillery piece. It has a pretty good long range, and it does a lot of damage. Though, I would definitely not recommend this as a typical artillery piece. If it's in the water, it can sink and float. So what you can do with it is you can have it come to the surface, get off one shot, it's say for instance a heavy defense like a stinger, and then go back under. It's very good against heavy defenses. Alright, now onto the more classical artillery pieces. We have the Firewalker here, effective against mobiles and bases. Notice the extreme long range. And basically it shoots 2 napalm warheads and it creates an inferno where they hit, making it effective really as, it's effective against light units, though it's not a Riot, because obviously the range, and if raiders ever got up on it, it'd die. But yeah, there you go. The Trimmer, extreme range, and this thing is very expensive and extremely deadly. As you can see, it shoots an entire spray of artillery shots into the air, and they'll just bombard an area until you tell it to stop, really, or the targets are destroyed. I mean, really, when this thing comes on the scene, unless the enemy can get in there with a raider or something else to kill it, then they're probably dead at this point. Now, rushing something like a Trimmer is not smart. Just because you have the Trimmer does not mean that they're dead. The only time that it means defeat to your opponent if you have artillery is, like I was saying, if they have extremely heavy defenses. And by extremely heavy, I mean things like a Doomsday Machine, or a lot of Stingers, or Stardust, or Faraday. Probably not an Annihilator. The Annihilator is extremely hard to deal with, though planes work well. But anyway, I might make another video explaining how to consistently crush a pork. But on to the next artillery piece, which is going to be the Wolverine. It doesn't have the best range, and what it does is it shoots these mines. You see this little mine here, it's called the Claw, and what it will do is when units get close to it, these 3 spikes will come out of the mine and damage the unit. So you can have this thing lay a minefield, and if units come through here, they're going to take a lot of damage. Now, it's not as effective as what you would typically consider to be a mine. Most mines in games, when they detonate, whatever it detonates on is pretty much dead. It doesn't matter what it is. This, on the other hand, is really quite a light mine. Though they're free, you can have this thing shoot as long as you want. Though the damage is so minimal this thing does, I typically don't try to use minefields. It's not good for blocking assault forces, and it's a lot of micro. But it is an artillery piece because it has pretty good range and you can shoot its static defenses inside bases. Though, yeah, with the minefield thing, it's also effective against mobiles. Alright, now we have the Impaler here. It is, once again, very long range, and it shoots one single cruise missile at a specified target. There's the cruise missile, it hit right there. It doesn't do a lot of damage, it doesn't do a lot of splash damage, though you can pick off static defenses very easily with it. Okay, and the Racketeer, it basically can paralyze one defense structure at a time. There you go, it shoots one EMP missile, and whatever it hit is probably going to be paralyzed. Now, these missiles don't home in, so they're not effective against mobiles. The hammer here can be effective against mobiles due to its firing arc. There you go. Hammer is very cheap. It can actually be used as a skirmisher, not only as artillery. Okay. Alright, now we have the Pillager. This thing, it's kind of like the stereotype of artillery. It shoots one shell at an arcing angle. There you go. And it gives a little bit of splash damage. Once again, like the other artillery pieces, effective against statics only, mostly. Okay, now, the Penetrator. This thing, it's basically a moving annihilator with a little bit less damage, I believe. Actually, no, it might just be a moving annihilator with a little bit less health. Yeah, it might do the full damage of the Annihilator with a little bit less reload or something. Something is making it weaker because it costs considerably less. Okay, now this thing, as I just demonstrated, shoots a huge blue beam at one specified target called the Tachyon Accelerator. And that will, that thing, the Tachyon Accelerator will do considerable damage to a Reaper or a Sumo. It's anti-heavy, like it says in the description, and it's artillery. Due to its range, it can pick off light defenses, or even things like stingers and such. Possibly even a Doomsday Machine. Okay, so, the only other thing with artillery is, artillery is pretty easy to understand. It's effective against non-moving structures, and it must be guarded. You can't just simply pull it up to the enemy base and just start leveling it. Unless your enemy will build absolutely no mobile units, artillery, they just don't... You can't leave them unprotected. Because if they have any units, they'll find a way to get to it. The Trimmer cannot keep things from getting to it, and the Firewalker can't keep things from getting to it. This Heat Wave is mainly just good as a support role in something like a team game. The Heat Wave can also be effective against shields, or things inside shields, because the fireballs will hit the shield, ignite, and that Heat Wave, since it gives such a wide area of damage, it will actually burn stuff inside the shield. Now, if you're actually looking for something to bring a shield down, the Trimmer works well, and the Racketeer and the Penetrator. Okay, I believe that is pretty much it for the artillery, or the prices. The Firewalker is $1,200, the Trimmer is $1,500, the Wolverine is $260, the Hammer is $130, the Impaler is $700, the Racketeer is $350, the Pillager is $700, and the Penetrator is 1,000 metal. Okay, there we go. I believe, yeah, that is pretty much the basic role of all the units that could be in question for the game. If you are ever wondering on any of this, you can, I believe I've covered it pretty thoroughly here, but if you're ever wondering on any of on any of the details of this stuff, the 0K manual is definitely the place to go. There's actually a section in the manual called, I believe, unit types, and it explains all of the unit types in the game. There are a few that I haven't explained, such as the anti-air, the support, which I actually mentioned. That's actually what the moderator is called. It's a support unit, meaning it works best with other units. Well, actually, I can go ahead and explain the support unit now and give a quick example, though I don't really need to give an example. But anyway, here we go. Here's a slasher. It's a typical support unit. What you're supposed to use this kind of a unit for is to actually draw the enemy in. This unit will gradually do damage over time if you don't take care of it. See, it has a pretty long range, and it will gradually damage units around it if you don't take care of it. These missiles also home in, so you can it's fairly effective against raiders, though don't use it as a Riot unit. Okay, and there's your support unit for you. Yeah, it's basically used to make your opponent come to you. That's all you're supposed to use the support unit for. Or just providing additional damage, which would be the more generalized description for it, I guess you could say. And then obviously you have anti-air. That's self-explanatory. You have heavy and very heavy descriptions. You know, that's pretty obvious what that is. I mean, anyone who likes power will figure that out. I mean, they're just cool to use. They're fun units. And then I don't think there are really any more unit types other than the Strider, which is basically a very, very heavy unit. Okay, yeah, okay, if you're in question of any of this, just check out the 0K manual. It has, like I was saying, a specified section for unit types, and it will explain everything. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.